Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe and turn on your notifications. We are here for another episode of Power Book 2, Ghost, Season 2, Episode 6, What's Free. I know the new episode is out already, guys, so we're gonna hop right into it. We got a lot of notes and hopefully I can get through it in one take without this thing cutting off. So the episode opens and it's game night at the Tejada / a welcome home party for Lorenzo. Just a house full of folks. And y'all thought Monet looked annoyed before? Baby, Miss Monet looked super tight. So Lorenzo says his daughter is harder than a lot of you. Now, what he says is she's harder and more loyal than all of you. She was the only one able to bring him back. So one of the guys at the table, I think it was Kino, he starts asking the questions that we all want answers to. How did she pull it off? And how did she pay for the lawyer? She says she knows how to hustle. Nah, baby girl, you know how to steal. So Zeke and his crew come through and they get stopped at the door. Lorenzo did not recognize Zeke, which I thought was kind of weird. And I know Courtney has told us that Zeke moved into the Tejada house in his high school years and Lorenzo's been locked up for 10 years. But he has access to everything else, so he never saw a picture of who Zeke was, even with the draft and him being accused of a murder. Nothing? No. Okay, Power, do better. So he says that they never met and he hopes that he realizes how much that his wife has done for him. He said, he has the guys pat him down. He says it's nothing personal. And that energy that he had for Zeke, it was a little weird. So I was kind of wondering what Lorenzo knew. So Zeke, he eyeballs little Guap, has Kane and him are going over to see Lorenzo. And Kane tells him that little Guap wants a picture for IG, which I thought was foolish. Didn't Drew go over to talk to him about not putting stuff on IG? And didn't Mecca break his fingers for that same foolishness? And speaking of Mecca breaking his fingers, what happened to little Guap's fingers being broke? Again, come on, Power. So Lorenzo says Guap's dad was all about business. Start using your head. F a picture. Build, he says, and he walks away. And Everett is looking all googly-eyed at Drew when Lorenzo calls him over. He starts talking to Kino and one of his boys, I think his name was Carlito, and he introduces Drew. He says he's ahead of his time and he'll be running the city when he's gone. Kane is watching the whole thing. He's trying to ear hustle and hear what's going on. Drew says he's got a lot of time before that happened. And Lorenzo peeps Drew and Everett making eye contact. So Mo, she questions Kino about not coming to see them when he got out a couple months ago. He says he has his own work. And Lorenzo asks for his cigars and Monet's like, she don't want him smoking in the house. And Lorenzo is very much, this is my house. I'll do what I want. So Kino asks for more chicken. These dudes. Diana says, she'll help out. And Lorenzo's like, nah, she got it. So he goes back to talking business with Kino. And he's like, when they start moving product again, he says it'll be 60-40, a 60-40 split. So Kino's like, we're not on the inside anymore. He says he's doing his own thing. He's running for the Broad Street Killers. And Drew says he heard that the feds did a sweep on BSK, got almost everybody. Kino says he's in charge until the big homie gets out. Lorenzo isn't happy. The same BSK dudes that he had to protect him from while he was in prison, that's who you choose to roll with when you're free? Kino says he has to run his own thing. And it looks like he already knows who he wants riding shotgun. So he points to Drew and then he's out. Okay, so who snitched on BSK? Was it Kino or was it Lorenzo? Because the timing of that sounds way too convenient. So Kane approaches Monet in the kitchen and he asks why Poppy is playing Drew so close. But Monet has other things on her mind. So she asks Drew to get some bottles of wine out the garage. Drew hits little Guap with the look as he leaves and he's worried. And I don't know why he came over there in the first place. Kane tells him Lorenzo is only worried about his comeback. Monet uses that moment to go talk to Everett. You know who I am? Your Zeke's aunt, right? Don't play dumb. I'm Drew's mother. She tells him, you're not ready for my son. You and your big mouth are not welcome here. Get the F out of my house. And as a mother, I totally get that. I understand where she's coming from. But you know, the harder you try to keep them away, the harder they try to hold on. So the next morning, Lorenzo and Monet are in the bed talking, and Monet is all fly in her Louis V pajamas. She about 5 feet away from her husband. And she says she held the business down for the last 10 years. He says he'll make sure that she doesn't ever have to put in that work again. And he says that Drew is ready, and he just does not know it yet. He wants to hand what they built down to him. And she says, he's been inside for 10 years. What does he know? He says Diana belongs in the classroom and boardrooms, not the block. He thinks that as long as the streets respect him, Kane will be happy in his position. And boy, does he have that wrong. Drew's the one. He's the best of both. He has a cool head, he can build, he makes the right decisions, and he can handle himself in the streets. Monet says he has a weakness and that he doesn't know about. And that she says he needs to talk to him and make sure he chooses what's good for the family rather than his heart. Lorenzo says that he peeped him last night and he knows who he is. He asked if they're effing around. Monet's like, you know everything. And I appreciate Lorenzo being cool about it, because you know men, especially of color, and their boys. So Diana comes in with breakfast for Poppy. Only Poppy gets breakfast, Monet asks. It's his welcome home breakfast, and I didn't think you were hungry. And his selfish butt just sitting there eating, not sharing a bite with his wife. So Drew and Kane come in with his clothes, and he's gonna need some new clothes, so they say they're gonna go to the app. He says, everything will be the way it used to be. Tariq is at court. He is being charged with 2 counts of murder in the 1st degree. He pleads not guilty. Jenny is looking all right in her little dress as she asks for him not to get bail. David says this is ridiculous. They had another black student under suspicion for these murders. He said they could barely tie Tariq to the killings. Jenny talks about Tariq being engaged in a criminal enterprise on campus, and Jabari discovered it and he was killed with the weapon belonging to Detective Ramirez, who was also murdered by the same weapon. So Sachs says they have no evidence, and Jenny says they found Ramirez's badge in Tariq's dorm room. Tariq says that he's being framed, and Jenny's like, he's a flight risk. So David says he has extensive ties to the communities, when Jenny points out that no one showed up for him today. Tariq looks behind him, and not one person. Now, you know that had to hurt. So the judge says he's remanded without bail. So afterwards, Sachs and Davis, they talk to Tariq, and Sachs says they like to make examples of cop killers. Tariq asks what happened to Yaz. They tell her, you know, she's been put back into the system, and David says getting him bail won't be easy. Sachs and Tariq, they go back and forth. David says there are appellate judges who can be persuaded to make certain allowances with the right influence, and they're going to make sure that they remind you of influence. It probably would have been more effective if that was the next book instead of Tommy's book, but that's just my suggestion. So we're at the bar, and Drew is talking to Lorenzo about getting shot, and Lorenzo said it hurts physically, but nobody tells you how much it F's with your head. He asks how he's doing, and then Kane gifts Lorenzo with a flat, blinged out Jesus piece, which is actually Lorenzo's old piece that he had upgraded. He says a real welcome home gift would have been a proper introduction to that connect. He says he and Drew are ready when he is, and Kane's like, he'll see what he can do. But Lorenzo's like, I think he's like in Spanish. He's like, you have a phone, hit him up now. He's like, he needs a minute with Drew anyway. So Kane is tight and he walks out. Drew says he does not need to meet the plug. Lorenzo says, you know, anything can happen. He's trying to put him in position to run the business. He tells him he was moving sloppy last night. There's no time for distractions, especially from civilians. Drew asked about Keno. He says he asked about Keno, and then he found out that he's overworking his men and paying them scraps. So he thinks that he could poach them, and Lorenzo's like, all right, but it'll start a war. And Drew says Keno sounds like a threat, and maybe we need to eliminate the threat. Lorenzo says, all right, but we need to make sure that his number 2 is on board. He tells him to stay focused. All eyes are on him, and he needs to make the right call and trust the right people. Drew says even outside of the game, there is no such thing, Lorenzo says. Lorenzo, you're rushing to get back to work after getting released on a technicality. I would think it would be smart for you to lay low for a little while, because they're going to be watching and looking for a reason to put you back inside. But okay. So Monet approaches Diana in the bathroom and she asks her, why you ain't tell me your father was getting out? Because Poppy told me not to. Pause. Diana, you had this idea in your head since Tariq's mom got released, and you ain't say one word to your mom about trying to get him out again. So she says, I guess he didn't want me to get your hopes up. And she's like, he told you to steal from me too? Monet asks, I did what I had to do to bring the families together. What you should be doing is thanking me for bringing him home. I killed a man for that money, Diana. And I ain't tell you to do that. Bitch, it is the audacity for me. No, she didn't tell you to do that, but certainly she did not tell her to do that, but certainly you stole and lied, and she asked you straight to your face and you did not say a peep. All that disrespectful attitude now that Lorenzo was home, she's straight feeling herself. Monet yokes her little ass up and says, oh, child, I keep losing my spot. She's acting real reckless around here. You don't know who you effing with, little girl. I got your husband out of jail and I'm effing with you. She's still going even though Monet's hand is around her throat. It's the delivery. She's doing all that rocking the neck back and forth. Is there some reason you don't want Poppy home? Diana asks him. Monet tells her to get the F out of her house. So Tariq is in his cell and he's wondering how he let Kane get the jump on him. Kane pops up and tells him he's looking at it all wrong. Tariq says when he gets out, he's going straight at him. And Kane tells him he can't outgun him now. 12 will be on him. Kane says he's not looking at the whole board. Who helped him pull this off? They just going back and forth and talking the whole thing out. And Tariq thinks it's Monet. He says he got bullets for her too. And then he's on his Denzel and Trading Day. He got bullets for the whole Tejada family when he gets out. Really, Tariq? Kanan says he does not have proof that it was them. Anyone could have crossed him. Sometimes it's the ones you love the most. So Lauren rolls up on Professor Milgram before class. She wants to know why the police arrested Tariq. Carrie says she's sorry, that she's upset, and she needs to accept that her boyfriend is a cold-blooded killer. How do you know he's guilty? Did you use something from the wire that I wore? And she's like, is she gonna have to testify against him? She can't do that. And Carrie's like, they will call her in, but they did use information from the wire, but that wasn't the only evidence. Lauren says, she's hot. She says, you knew the whole time Tariq was a target, but then everybody comes in, so it's time to start class. It's freedom of illusion, Tate says. And LSK asks, are you for real right now? You know who's not free? Tariq. A couple of students say they add their 2 cents, and Bruchandria, that's LSK if y'all didn't know, says they perp walked him across campus and they're just supposed to sit around and act like this is normal. And Carrie says, what happened was a tragedy and Tariq will go to prison for the rest of his life. She wants to move on with the reading. Tate steps in, he says a few words, and a student asks if he will get bail and be back in class. And Carrie says, he's been charged with double homicide. One of the victims was a police officer. He can't get bail. Tate says, for the right price, anything is possible, Professor Milgram. And may I remind you, he has not been convicted yet. So Monet is talking to Dante, who is irritated. We have to stop because he's home. He wants her to tell him she's moving on and he should do the same. She doesn't know what to do. She needs time to think. He still wants to meet Zeke. She says they can still meet. They just have to move a certain way. And Dante's like, he does not sneak around. But Lorenzo calls, so she's got to go. Lorenzo tells her Tariq got locked up for double homicide. They put Ramirez's body on him. He says that wasn't smart. How long do you think it's going to take for the cops to connect Tariq back to you? So Monet, she goes to pay Davis a visit and tells him, this seems like a witch hunt. She asks him what they have on Tariq, and he didn't really want to say nothing, but he reveals that Ramirez's badge was discovered in his dorm room. He asks if he has any idea how it got there. She gives him 250 bands to tell her anything in Tariq's case that leads to her family. Double it and it's a deal, but it will be on a need-to-know basis, he tells her. He won't share anything that he feels might hurt Tariq. Monet says for $500,000, She doesn't give a F who it hurts. So she goes home and talks to Kane and asks why he planted Ramirez's badge in Tariq's dorm. You said let the chips fall where they may. The badge fell in his room. F Tariq. Zeke is good now. I thought that's what you wanted. One thing about you, you always gonna make shit worse, Monet says. They got Tariq, he could rat on you. If he doesn't, whatever he does can lead to you. She tells him she made a deal with Davis to get some inside information. She gave him 250 bands, but he wants doubles. To make what they need course correct online. But Tariq's in jail, so Kane says he could use Brayden, the same white boy you kidnapped. He says he helped him raise money for Zeke's lawyer when they needed it. He hit licks with him. He's Tariq's day one since course correct. He knows this shit. He loves it. Monet wants to check him out for herself. This stays between the two of us. She says Lorenzo will either want to shut it down, change it, or run it himself, or put Drew in position to run it. Kane says, we need to keep our independence. We got to learn how to stick together. Oh my, how the tables have turned. Kane was just smirking when Lorenzo got out. And I mean, I am not sure why, but he was convinced that he was going to be Lorenzo's right hand. He was over there complaining to Mecca about Monet. But now that Lorenzo's out and he's not next in line, now he's back, riding Monet close. So Kane meets with Mecca and he asked how Lorenzo got out. Technicality, Kane says, prosecution team was dirty. He tells Mecca he knows he likes to be invisible, but Lorenzo wants to meet and talk business. Mecca understands his concern that the meeting with Lorenzo will end their business together. Kane says when he was inside, he found Mecca. Drew ain't done shit. Now he wants to cut me out the middle. Then he no longer needs me. Now, why the F would I play myself like that? Look who's finally learning from me, Mecca says. He says his relationship was with Kane, not his father. And as far as he's concerned, they never have to meet. I wondered if Lorenzo and Mecca knew each other for some reason. That's just me. So Tate meets with Tariq in the jail and the two are talking trash to each other. Tate is still looking for that dirt on Sweeney. What else do we need to talk about? Tariq says he can let him rot or he can get him bail and he can get him that dirt task. And Tate asks him, what the F do you think that I've been doing at that school? You haven't delivered. So Tariq tells him he went on a family trip with the Westons. Sweeney was there. He saw a secret photo album, a whole lot of weird, inappropriate shit that'd get an elected official in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Tariq says that if Tate helps him get out, he can get his hands on it, and Tate says if he does not hold up his end of the deal, he will make his life a living hell. So the Tejadas, they're having a family meeting, and Lorenzo says they are not working with Tariq anymore. He got locked up for double homicide, no more trapping at Stansville. They can make plenty of money in Queens. He's gonna recruit workers. Each one of them will get their own crew except Diana. He has plans for her. And once they find a steady groove, Monet can fall back forever. Everyone is kind of just sitting there looking, and he asks Kane if he heard from the plug yet, and Kane says he'll let him know when he's ready. So the kids leave, and Monet is like, you will not be ordering me around like one of these kids. He says he never stopped being at the head of the household when he went to prison. And she says when he was inside, they would discuss and strategize together first. He says, yeah, when I was inside, but now I'm home, and she doesn't have to worry. Enjoy your retirement, he says. He puts a roll on the table and says, go shopping, hit the Ave, enjoy yourself, get something nice. Get yourself something nice from the Ave. Oh, Lorenzo, you are so out of touch and misogynistic too. She was running stuff the whole time he was locked up. And most married couples make decisions together anyway. So for him to come home and think that he doesn't have to consult her about anything, and enjoy your retirement. And I know people are gonna say that she wanted out with Dante, so she should be happy. Yes, she wants it out, but this is not out or retirement. Her husband, her kids are still in the game. And now she's just gonna be in the dark. So we're back at court and the judge says, prosecution recommends no bail. That seems unfair and harsh. A detective's badge was found in the defendant's dorm room, which is a shared room. There is no forensic evidence, he asks, and Davis says, none at all, tying our client to either murder. Judge says, another black man in my courtroom experiencing the vicious cycle of the racist system. But I am a BIPOC ally. And for those of you that don't know what that means, that is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So the cycle can stop with me. Mr. St. Patrick, do you work as well as go to school? And Jenny, she jumps up to interject, and Judge is like, he wasn't addressing you. Tariq says, yes, he tutors students at his school. Judge says, he'll release him on 10% bail bond. He'll be required to wear an ankle monitor. Bail is set at $1 million. Afterwards, Sachs says he's never seen the judge act that way before. And Tate says that they go way back. Sachs asks him what he gets out of this. Tate says he just wants to see Tariq get a fair fight. We all deserve that. Sachs asks, what does Tariq have on you? Sachs just cannot help himself, y'all. So Davis scooches him along, and as they're putting the ankle monitor on Tariq, Sachs tells him to make sure he doesn't involve himself in any criminal behavior because they give him the ankle monitor in hopes of catching them breaking the law. Davis tells him he can come and go to his office as he pleases. He cannot leave Manhattan without permission. He has to stay on campus or on his off-campus residence. He filled out in the paperwork. Sachs, he's still asking questions. He's asking about what that place is, where he got it from. And Tariq's like, it's a friend's brother's place that he rented out to get custody of Yaz. Why didn't you think about her before you killed a cop? Sachs asked, and Tariq's like, how many times do I have to tell you I did not do it? Davis tells Sachs, enough. And he's going to let Tariq go. And he tells him to be careful. The NYPD will have a target on your head. Trust no one. Tariq says the only person he trusts is gone. He asked if they ever got in contact with his mom. Davis says he hasn't, and her location has changed, so they have not released any info into her new location is secure. Tariq says, let him know. He really needs to talk to her, and he leaves. And Davis tears into Sachs. He says, you never ask a client if they did it, let alone into a confession. It's the truth that ties their hands. Sachs is sure someone else is going to die now that Tariq is back on the streets. Davis reminds him that they get paid to work for Tariq, not against him. He asks him for an update on Tasha, and Sachs says she's in New Mexico and she's requesting to talk to Tariq. They both agree that it's not a good idea, and Davis thinks if she tells him to run, that they'll miss out on the money. So Sachs asks for his word. No, he asks Sachs for his word. They will never ask Tariq again for a confession. He gives his word. Listen, I know Davis needs Sachs to help get his brother out of jail, but if I was Tariq with their history, I would be like, he can work for you, but just not on my case. Like, oh, put him over there. So Tariq goes to his room, and Brayden is playing video games. He asks him, how did he get out? Tariq starts running the shower. He's not sure if the room is bugged, and Brayden says, he's already checked. Tariq asks Brayden if he helped Kane set him up because he knows he bodied Ramirez and had access to their room and the badge. Brayden says he didn't know anything that he was doing would possibly be related to him. He tells him that Kane came looking to make money moves, and at the time it seemed like a good idea because Tariq needed the money for Yaz. He says he went with him. It started off fun. They got in a car chase. They got shot at. They hit a lick. Then shit got weird. Brayden. Brayden is just a thrill seeker, but I was glad that he was about to finally be honest with Tariq. So he says Kane had him help move a dead body. Tariq's like, are you effing kidding me? Brayden says he did not know it was a cop. Ramirez, he wasn't able to tell. But when he dropped him off, he definitely came up to the room. He was sick. He could have planted the badge. Then indeed he did. He says he effed up. Tariq's like, I told you to call me if you see Kane. But your stupid butt let him finesse you, and now I'm the one that's paying for it. Brayden apologizes and said he can't put it all on him. If he knew he could have been able to protect him, he never tells him anything. Tariq says, I always told you what you needed to know, and if that does not sound like Ghost and Tommy, I don't know what does. So Tariq asks, what does he even do this for? People out here dying and in jail because they literally have no other options. You playing this shit like it's a game, bro. Tariq is just going off and tells him to go tell your dad to get you a job and quit before somebody gets hurt. And then Brayden checks him. You really gonna stand there and act like your dad wasn't rich and well connected too? I chose this life just like you. And he wasn't wrong. Tariq definitely chose this. Now he put himself in the position where he is now, where he feels like he has no other option. But prior to killing Ghost, he had all the choices in the world. Brayden keeps going on. He asks Tariq, what did he do? Tariq says he doesn't have to worry about it or course correct because he ain't on that shit no more. And Brayden's like, I helped build that with you, and you put it at risk when you let me get set up. And Tariq leaves. So Brayden meets up with Kane, and he, who tells him to quit asking about Ramirez. Brayden asks him to keep it a buck about Tariq's involvement in the Ramirez killing. Kane tells him to focus on oppressing Monet and make sure she knows that they do not need Tariq to keep course correct running. Monet rolls up as they're talking and asks what makes him so special. He built the system with Tariq, and even though he's out on bail, the look on Kane's face is everything. Brayden continues that he's going to be repurposing his white privilege. Monet does not look impressed. She tells him white privilege can save you from the law, but it can't save you from the streets. Brayden says he can handle himself in the streets. Kane knows he loves this shit. Monet tells him he needs to go home. He's not ready. Before he leaves, she asks him if he helped Kane raise the cop's body, and did you plant the badge in Tariq's room. Kane needs to work on his facial expressions, because you could always get a feeling of what's going on from his facial expressions or his body movements. I don't know why Kane tricked me, Brayden says, but I guess we're all in a worse situation now. And then he walks away. And my whole thing is, why would Brayden help plant the badge in the room? Him and Tariq share a room, but I guess Monet didn't know that. So she says, Kane, I saw your face when you said Tariq was out of jail. You don't have the power over him that you think you do. Kane says, he'll make sure he keeps his mouth shut. Monet's like, nah, leave him alone. Let's just focus on how to get this money to pay Davis. Lauren gets out of the car, and Tariq is standing there. She did not know he'd ever get out. He says, if you came to the court, you know. So she didn't know what to do. He says, you know me. You really think I killed that cop? She doesn't know what to think. She tells him Professor Milgram said the evidence they have against him is enough to convict. He tells her she's only running her mouth because she's effing Zeke. He got accused of the same crime. She'll say anything to make him look better. Lauren is looking hella confused, and she says she had no idea. He says, let's go to your room and talk about it. But Lauren, she's still conflicted. He says, she is all he has, and either she's with him or she's against him. So he walks away, and she says she wants to talk. And he's like, he's done talking. He's done with her. He'll drop off the brother's keys after he grabs his stuff. So Lauren goes to confront Milgram. You lied, and you said that Brayden was the target. Carrie says he was until it pivoted. Lauren says, when did you learn Tariq was a suspect? She didn't know that he was an option until she helped her with those drug charges. You never helped me. You forced me to wear that wire. No one put a gun to your head, Milgram says. You didn't want mommy and daddy to find out you got caught with drugs in your room. You made your choices. Milgram is smug as fuck, y'all. Talking to Lauren, and I'm gonna tell you, young adults, again, talk to your parents. You hear what Carrie said? Folks will prey on you. You didn't warn me about that. Why? Lauren asks. Oh, because you was too busy effing Zeke? Don't play with me, Lauren says. You got over on me once, but trust, it's not gonna happen a second time. Where was all that smug energy now, Carrie? Zeke and I are none of your business. Well, y'all about to be everyone's business. Now she wants to have a conversation when she's able to control her emotions. Lauren's like, oh, she's in control, and she leaves. Lauren about to blow up the spot. So there's a knock on Tariq's door. It's Effie. She wanted to come show him love during these trying times. She tells him if he needs money or anything, she got him. He tells her about his sister and needed money for the lawyer. He could use a connect. She asks him if the room is bugged. If it were me, I wouldn't have conversation in that room, period. She says they have better product, and her guys stopped answering the phone a while back. What happened to yours? He tells her about Kane framing him for killing the cop. He says he even fooled Brayden into planting the badge in the room after he told him to stay away from Kane. Did he know why he needed to stay away from Kane? Effie asked. And we're going to take our first pause here, because Tariq is running his mouth. Didn't David say trust no one? Kanan said it's the closest ones to you, but Tariq keeps a pillow talking with no pillow. So Tariq says he ain't effing with none of them. Brayden, Monet, they need him. He made course correct pop, so without him, shit is dead. What about the professor? Effie asks. He pauses. She says, you don't gotta tell me. What's understood don't gotta be said. He said, it was him or me. I had no choice. He was, he was worried about Yaz. Effie tells him he has to keep Brayden on his side. Without Monet, he can't make $2 million. And he tells her she's the only one that held it down, and they kiss, and we could assume that they got it popping. And I know y'all like Effie, and I like her too. When it comes to Tariq, I be giving her the side eye for what she didn't show. Plus, she's asking all of these questions, and he's spilling all this information, and we don't know anything about her at all. It seems suspect. Even her timing to me now is just like, I got my good eye on her, and Tariq should too. The Tejadas, they're having dinner, reminiscing about when Kane wanted to be a rapper. Drew says, he would hit up the beat or the table. After dinner, when they were supposed to be cleaning up, he and Diana would come and dance. And Drew says on a good day, Monet would join them. On a bad day, she run them out the kitchen. And Monet actually kind of cracks a little smile. Kane starts making a beat on the table. Lorenzo turns on that Spanish music, and him and Diana start dancing. And Monet says she's gonna go get some cheesecake. We all know that that's code for Dante. Lorenzo says, that's perfect, hurry back. And I hope she don't forget to bring the cheesecake when she comes back. Like I said, she's at Dante, and she tells him she cannot continue to do this. She says she sacrificed too much to keep her family together. She can't give up on them now. She says she owes them that. Dante says he doesn't owe Lorenzo anything. He had his chance, and that jailbird blew it. He wants her to give their family a chance. She says, she thinks this is what's best for everyone if this is the last time they saw each other. What about my son, he asked. She says she cannot allow that to happen. It will be too disruptive to his ball career. And why she say that? Not me, girl. Mr. Dante looks super tight. If you don't tell him, I promise I will. I told ya. She tells him to stay away from Zeke and stay away from her. It's over. And she walks out, and I already knew he does not look like a man who takes no for an answer. He is about to be a whole problem. And I still want to know what his intentions are, because he's still not being honest with Monet or Kane. In the kitchen, Diana tells Lorenzo that basically Monet doesn't seem happy that she's home. He says, nah, it's not true. He tells her that they decided to pay her tuition for St. John's University. Diana, she rolls her eyes. He's like, I thought you'd be happy. She says, she's happy that they're finally letting her go to school. But St. John's, that's in Queens. She wanted to go to Stansville with Zeke. He tells her that mommy thought that was the best choice. And why he say that? It's a good school, he says. Nah, Monet didn't know exactly what she's doing. I mean, it's making it seem like Monet was right and that she just wanted to be where Tariq was. And she's talking about it's in Queens. But see, like he said, St. John's is a good school. But Miss Thang, she got an attitude about it. Just go get your education and hush, child. Come on, Diana. So she says Monet is just mad because she gave up on you and I never did. He says she never gave up. Then he's like, she's just burnt out from these last 10 years. And I gave him a little pat for trying to be understanding. If she never gave up on you, then why weren't you part of why doesn't the exit plan include you? So Lorenzo goes to Drew and asks, what's the plan? He said after he got shot, Monet thought they needed a safer hustle. So the plan was once Zeke got drafted, they would follow him out of town wherever he got drafted and quit the drug game and work for him. Drew asks, can they talk later? Because he's got to go out. And Lorenzo is like, I have been feeding myself since I was 13. You think I'm going to take order from your cousin? Drew explains that nobody thought he was going to be home, so he was not part of the plan. Monet wanted a fresh start. Lorenzo's like, I am the fresh start. And once the family starts moving on one accord, everything will be perfect. And Drew's like, if you want the family to be on one accord, you and Monet need to get on the same page. Lorenzo's like, he's right, and he's taking his advice. They're going to make a move on Keno, and he needs him to tell him tonight. So Lorenzo leaves, and Drew has to text Eric. He can't make it. He has a family emergency. So Tariq apologizes to Brayden for questioning his loyalty, and Brayden tells him about the meeting earlier with Monet and Kane. Kane pitched him as Tariq's replacement, but Monet shot it down. Brayden says the Ramirez thing is pretty clear, but that Tariq has nothing to do with it. And then Tariq starts to spill the beans. He tells him about the kid that died in the pool. Kane sent him up there to kill him. But Two-Bit, who ran for his uncle, killed the GTG kid. He lied about it being Kane to protect Brayden because he was being extorted by Two-Bit. So he says that Kane is the op, and Brayden asks, what about Professor Reynolds? And Tariq says he wasn't supposed to die. He started doing too much. He tells him about the book. Kane followed him, overheard. He blasted Reynolds. He says he told Kane he finished Reynolds and help him with everything if he didn't kill him. So now Brayden knows everything. Brayden says he's got him. Tariq tells him to get closer to Kane so he can't catch them off guard again. He asks for his father's photo album from college. Something in there could help with his case. So Tariq meets with Brayden and Effie at Lauren's brother's apartment. Effie will be handling transportation and re-ups. Brayden will be covering meetings with Bash, handling the tutors and course correct. And Effie suggests that they shut down the Stansville operation until the murder frenzy dies down. Brayden leaves. Later, Bonnie and Clyde. So Lorenzo, he meets up with Kane. He asks, what's up with him? Why did you insist on me not bringing Drew? And where's the connect? Kane says he's the connect. Lorenzo says, do what you want, because when the shit goes bad with the connect, and it will goes bad, I want you to keep that same energy. Kane says it didn't have to be this way. You chose Drew over me and you lied to me. Lorenzo tells him he's not ready. Kane says, you're not ready. You just came home and you don't have shit. You're living off my mother. Child, the energy between these two, we're lucky they didn't scrap. So Lorenzo tells him he never thinks things through and he can't play his own role. He respects him for keeping the family going. Kane says that he should be by his side. Lorenzo wants to know why he's blocking a connect, and he tells him to make up his mind. Are you trying to be my boss or my son? So Monet rolls up on Effie. She gives it a burner. Tariq's on the phone. Tariq's like, how am I supposed to trust you? You got me locked up when I told you the truth about Kane. She says she has no parts in this. He says, you know, he's fucked up, but he's my kid. So you snitch, I shoot. You shoot, I slaughter. Now, Monet. Just last season, you said it was okay. Like, what? She backpedaled. But anyway, so Tariq says he won't say shit about Kane. Just make sure that she keeps him in check. He tells her he has an ankle monitor, so he can't leave Manhattan. So anything that he needs from her, that Effie can handle. After Monet gets off the phone with Tariq, you know, she starts trying to ruffle Effie's feathers, but you know, Effie's a G. So Tariq must think he can trust you. You must be laying it down on him. She's like, that's not going to get you anything over here. And Effie's like, we can make real money together, or we can make less money apart. She tells her to keep the burner, her number's in it, and when she wants to make, you know, when she wants to work, to call her. So Sax, he goes to see Jenny, and he winds up ear hustling in the hallway between a conversation with her and Lauren. Lauren says she never agreed to testify. She can't take the stand. Jenny tells her she signed the paperwork. It's part of her deal. Lauren says that Carrie tricked her into this. Jenny says, life lesson, never sign anything without reading it. Lauren leaves, and when Jenny is on her way out, she sees Sax, and she asks him what he's doing there. He came to see her, and she says she got tons of work to tackle. Let's meet another night. He agrees. He has work too. And Jenny had this look on her face, and I was confused because I did not know why, because you knew he was opposing counsel and you was giving him all this information before. But anyway, we see Zeke playing ball. Brayden goes to his parents and grabs the book for Tariq. Kane gets a text from Mecca. I changed my mind, set the meeting with your pop, and Kane looks like fuck. He's sitting off to the side while the rest of the family is playing Monopoly. Mecca is on his stalker shit watching Zeke play ball, and he about to be a whole bitter baby daddy. Effie, you know, says she got to watch a few more YouTube so she can figure out how to get the ankle monitor off, and she asks Tariq how close she's going to be working with Kane. He's like, not to worry about it. She's like, nah, I can handle myself, but I feel like, you know, as long as he's around, you won't be safe. Tariq says he knows what he has to do, but he doesn't want to take that route. If he kills Kane now, he still loses anyway. He shows her the letter his dad left him, and he says that he knew him better than he knew himself. Effie says, maybe he didn't know you at all. Your story's not over. Reek, it's just the beginning. She says, you know, I'll hit you when Monet calls. He thanks her for everything. She leaves, and he burns Ghost's letter, and that is where we end. Please leave your thoughts and comments below on this episode. How y'all feel about Lorenzo coming home, and what about the mischievous Dante / Mecca? I don't like either one of them, so I want to say may the best man win, but they both can really go. If you made it this far, put an exclamation point, question mark emoji for all the foolishness in this episode. I know episode 7 has already aired, so I hope you'll come back and join me for my review. While you're here, check out some of my other content. Thank you. And before you go, like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you. Peace.